Hello, I'm Brian Sweezy, and I am honored to have been asked to speak to the Lloyd High School class of 2020. I'm being completely serious when I say that of the 30 years I've been in education, this is probably the highest honor that I've ever had. That's how serious I'm taking this. I sincerely appreciate the offer. When I was asked to do this, my first thought was that I would go to Tishner Middle School, to the media lab there, and they have a TV production room they've set up, and that I would record a traditional speech there. But then it occurred to me that if I have to pre-record the speech, why not take advantage of the situation to do something a little different? So I'm filming here at my house. But as some of you know, my house is not like most people's houses. My wife is the curator of the world's only museum of ventriloquism. And in the backyard of our house are 4 buildings that house almost 1,000 ventriloquist dummies. So I'm going to go into one of these buildings. I have 5 pieces of advice that I want to give you today. We'll call this speech Advice from Dummies. And so we're going to go in and let the ventriloquist dummies help to give us this advice. If you've never been in Vin Haven before, it can be a little intimidating to have so many faces looking at you. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just give you a moment to kind of look around and see what the place looks like. This is Vin Haven. Maybe come over here and let you look over here. This is some of the dummies, just a handful of the dummies in the collection. I see a smiling monkey and a talking book and a talking trash can, a talking traffic cone. That's a nice collection of dummies. And the first piece of advice that I want to give you today is, it might sound a little hokey, but I do sincerely mean it. That is to chase your dreams. If you have a dream, go for it. And to use an example that I want to use, instead of a single dummy, I want to actually give you an entire exhibit. This is Darcy Lynn's exhibit. Darcy, who you can see in this photo right here, Darcy was the winner of America's Got Talent in the summer of 2017, and she was only 12 years old. And I'm sure that when she talked about getting into ventriloquism, that people may have said to her, are you sure you want to do ventriloquism? Are you sure that's going to go anywhere? But it did go somewhere. She's been really successful with it. So you too should chase your dream. If you want to be a doctor, yeah, you may go and you may find that medical school is too hard and you can't handle it. You may want to be a musician and you may find that you just can't do it. That it's not working to be a musician. But I'll tell you what, you may try and fail, but if you don't try, you're definitely going to fail. So go for it. If you have a dream, go for it. Life is long, and you can, if it doesn't work out, you can do something else. For my second piece of advice, I'm going to use as an example this dummy. This is Handbag Harry. At first glance, it looks like just a nice woman's handbag. But if I flip the handle down, it turns into a ventriloquist figure, complete with little dangling legs here even. So what sage piece of advice am I giving and using Handbag Harry as an example for? Well, my second piece of advice is to be ready to change. Be prepared to change. Just like Handbag Harry changed from a handbag into ventriloquist figure, you too are going to have to be prepared in life to change. And the way you do that is by being a lifelong learner. You're going to go off to college, or you're going to go to trade school and get an apprenticeship, or you are going to go right into the workforce and get a job. Whichever one of those things that you do, you're going to get some training and you're going to do some learning. But it can't just stop there. You're going to have to learn your whole life because, like Handbag Harry, you're going to change. I taught some of you as freshmen. I taught some of you freshman English, but that year that I taught you, that wasn't my main job. I was the director of technology for the school district. And at the time, there were 4 of us in the department. And we were talking one day, having our weekly department meeting, and it occurred to us that though we were, the 4 of us, the technology department for the Erlanger-Ellesmere School District, none of us had technology degrees. There was an English major, a social work major, a geology major, and a journalism major. None of us were working in the field where we had gotten our college degrees. What we had done, what we had in common though, was that we had all continued to learn after we got out of college. And in college, we had learned how to learn. So you need to become a lifelong learner so that you'll be ready to change, because most people will not stay in the same career forever. My wife was a math teacher. She has degrees in math and education, and she runs a ventriloquism museum. I mean, change in careers is something that happens with most people, and you should be prepared for that. So that's my second piece of advice. Now, for point number 3, I thought I would do something non-controversial. I thought I'd talk politics. I'm being completely serious. I'm going to talk politics. Let's all just hold on to our hats in hopes that this works out, okay? I'm going to come over here and show you these ventriloquist figures. These figures, see if I can get myself in the picture. Hi. These figures are basically the presidents of my lifetime minus the last 2, President Obama and President Trump. We've got Nixon all the way over to the second President Bush. And I wanted to talk about politics for a minute because things aren't good right now in this country as far as our attitudes toward one another. For the last 10 years or so, and really, that's all that, that's 10 years is all the time you guys have had to really be aware of politics. But for the last 10 years, we've had a problem where people don't just look at people on the other side as having different ideas about how the country should go, but they look at people on the other side as being evil, bad, and they hate the people on the other side. It seems like as Americans we hate half of the country. Everybody seems to hate half of the country. I wanted to show you these guys because I wanted to say it hasn't always been like this. Maybe, during Nixon's time things weren't great, but for most of the rest of this time, now don't get me wrong, people have always thought that the people on the other side were wrong, but they haven't thought that they were evil. It hasn't always been like this. And I don't want you guys to become jaded and cynical. It can be different, and you can be part of what helps to make it different. So I guess this point is, don't be cynical or jaded about the world. It's not always going to be like this. For my 4th piece of advice, I wanted to show you this figure. This is Cecil Wigglenose, and Cecil's a pretty cool figure, and it not just because he has on a really cool tuxedo. Cecil is cool because he can do so many different things. He can stick his tongue out. He can wiggle his ears. He can sniff with his nose. He can cross his eyes. He can blink. He can move his eyes left and right, and he can do all kinds of things. But my favorite thing that he can do only happens if someone frightens him. So I need somebody out there watching this video to say boo. And it's a pre-recorded video, so I need you to say it really loudly. I don't hear anything. Oh, there it is. We heard you that time. I heard somebody out there shout it. He has what we call a fright wig. He can become afraid. And why am I showing you a dummy that can become afraid? Because it's cute, but also because I wanted to say this, that it's okay if you are afraid right now a little bit. You may not want to admit it, but everybody who graduates high school is afraid. You're making one of the largest changes to your life that you're ever going to make. In a normal year, it's scary to graduate high school and go on to whatever it is you're going to do next. In 2020, with the world as weird as it is right now, it's even scarier. It's okay if you're afraid. I guarantee you that in the next 12 years, not 12 years, in the next 12 months, that you are going to find yourself stressed out and anxious and overwhelmed, and 4 words are going to come into your head. I can't do this. And when those 4 words, quit looking at me. Quit it. Look over that way. Yeah. When the 4 words come into your head, you'll be afraid and you'll want to quit. And I'm telling you that what you need to do is push through that and do it anyway. I heard a podcast the other day, and somebody brought up an idea that I'd never heard of before. That there's a huge difference usually between pretending to be something and actually being something. I mean, you want a real surgeon to operate on you and not someone pretending to be a surgeon. But one place where it doesn't matter is in having courage or pretending to have courage. They're the same thing. They're the same thing, because courage isn't doing something and not being afraid. Courage is being afraid and doing something anyway. So my advice, my encouragement here is that in the next 12 months, when that moment comes and you think to yourself, I can't do this, you can do it. Remember that everybody around you is feeling exactly the same way. Maybe not at exactly the same moment you are, but they're all feeling exactly the same way as you. And it's okay to be afraid, feel that feeling, and then push through it and do it anyway. It's what will separate a successful person from an unsuccessful person. So that's my 4th piece of advice. This is Professor IQ. And I wanted to end by showing him, because like you, he's got his mortarboard and he has his fancy gown on, and he's all dressed up and ready to go to graduation with no graduation to go to. I'm really sorry that this year has happened the way it's happened. No one could have predicted it. I guarantee you there is nobody who on December 31st of last year was asked, how do you think things are going to go in 2020? That is walking around this May going, nailed it. I nailed it. This is exactly what I said was going to happen. That isn't the case. No one predicted this. The future, though, what you have learned really well, I think, is an important point, that the future is always uncertain. The only thing that is certain is right now. And so, though you want to think about the future and you want to pay attention to the other 4 pieces of advice that I gave you, you also want to know that the only thing that really matters is now. The people here with you right now. What you're doing now. So pay attention to now whenever you can. That's my advice for what it's worth. Thank you again for offering for me to come and talk to you. It's been fun sharing this collection with you. If you ever get a chance to come to Vin Haven Museum, who knows, I might be here. In fact, there's probably a good chance that I'll be here. And maybe I'll say hi to you. Take care of yourselves. Go out and have a great life. Not today. Today you need to stay home. But, when we're all allowed to go out, I hope you go out and have a good life. Thanks.